Ladies and gentlemen, today is really a big pleasure to have the CX Goalkeeper, the first one, and in the series is the third event that I am organizing. Today I'm really thrilled because today it's all about voice, omni-channel, but also the human touch. And I have three great speakers. Beate will join us later, but at the moment I have Jürg Schleier and Dominic Spalinger with me. Hello and welcome to this show. Hi Jürg, how are you?
I'm fine. Hi Greg.
And Dominic, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Greg, for having me.
Perfect. Thank you very much for being here and also for your time. Short from my side, so a small introduction. I think we will have a great discussion. Let's ensure that everybody has enough time to discuss and to speak about the topic. As usual, I need to mention that I am here as the CX Goalkeeper and I am not representing my company, my employer, but everything that I am saying, it's my own view. But anyhow, I am really thrilled and we can kick off the discussion. And perhaps let's start with Jürg. Jürg, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm pleased to do so. And Greg, I'm always pleased to get invited to an apero, and I've prepared myself for the apero. Yes, cheers. Yes, my name is Jürg Schleier. I'm a country manager at the company Spitch. Spitch is doing speech and voice recognition solutions. And I'm with the company since the last 5.5 years. And before that, the 20 years before that, I worked for big American software companies like Cisco or Oracle as sales manager or country manager. That's my background.
Thank you very much, Jürg. And now we go to Dominic. Dominic, also please a short introduction from your side.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Greg. Yes, Dominic here. I work for PlaynVoice, a project or a company that we founded like 3 or 4 months ago, I think. So what we actually do is we consult companies on setting up conversational systems that you can talk to. Is it on a text-based approach or on a voice-based approach? So what we're really specialized in is setting up text-based chatbots that can transform to voice assistants. That's actually what we're doing. We're kind of focusing on voice itself. So thrilled about talking with Jürg about this topic too.
Thank you very much, Dominic. And perhaps also to kick off a bit the discussion, could you please share with us, is Mr. Ebersol your uncle or your parent, or who is Mr. Ebersol? And please, for the people not knowing who Mr. Ebersol is, could you please share also the gag behind this?
Yeah, you're probably talking about that Omni-Channel marketing campaign that we launched together with Filter, a company that promotes a drink. Yeah, well, what we've done there is like we used Mr. Ebersold, which is a character from a comedy series. Like he's deaf and he doesn't understand a lot, and he got quite good traction on this comedy sketch. So we kind of used him to draw an omni-channel marketing campaign to give customers of that drink or potential customers of that drink a chance to actually talk to Mr. Ebersold. And that's actually quite fun idea that they came up with. So we actually developed a platform where you can call in, and actually a proper ASR is steering the conversation, but Mr. Ebersold, as he is deaf, he actually doesn't understand a lot. So you can actually talk to him, but he kind of doesn't understand you, which makes it a funny experience. And if you last long enough in this call, you will get a voucher code to order a drink, and you also get an SMS that contains the voucher code and the link to go to their landing page and stuff like that. But to make it short, I'm not related to him, Greg, not at all.
Thank you, Dominic, and we can share the link also in the show notes. And basically, you mentioned already one specific keyword, ASR, but we can then explain what it is. Before we deep dive in the technicalities, Jürg, I use always two examples, and they are known to you, but I would like to share them with the audience, and then I would like to understand your view on this topic. If we are speaking about voice, voice is the easiest medium to communicate. And the two examples I often use when I'm speaking about voice technologies, first of all, is Gary Vaynerchuk, and I think he doesn't need any big introduction. The CEO of Vayner everywhere on the social media, he is there, and everything he touches, he transforms it in gold. And when people ask him what he foresees in future, he's always saying voice is one of the biggest topics. And he makes always the two examples. I changed that a bit because I don't want to get political. And one example is I tell to Alexa, I need a new pair of shoes. I am not saying to Alexa from which brand. I'm not saying how big because Alexa knows me. And therefore, it's not required to do that. But on the background, think about who is taking the decision for you. It's not yourself anymore, but it's Alexa itself. On the other side, I think about my son, 4 years old, is not able to handle or to use an iPad because it's not able to unlock it, is not able to open an app and to perform a process, but he already speaks with Alexa. He is able to ask how is the weather and all this stuff. Jürg, what's your view on voice and the future about voice?
Thanks, Greg. I fully agree with you. These keyboards and these kind of things, this is unnatural for a human being. If you want something from the opposite side, you normally speak. And what you need to do today with computers, you need to think about what do you want, then formulate it in words and then type it into a keyboard to make sure your message is getting to the other side. This is very, very unnatural for human beings. The most natural way of communication is I'm just talking, and I'm sure this will be our future. I would make a bet that in 15 years from now, these kind of keyboards are only used for very exotic use cases, and most of us will just talk when they need something. We can now discuss, does it take 12 years or 20 years, but keyboards are going away, and the natural way for human beings, if you want something, is to speak and communicate that way.
Thank you very much, Jürg. And elaborating on that, and Dominic already mentioned something, it's really about Omni-Channel, because I used two examples of, let's say, from a customer point of view, and now going also into the discussion and the future of voice and the expectation of the customer. We are always saying that the expectation of the customer are changing, are moving, and so on. Dominic, what's your view on these topics around the different channels that are available for customers to communicate with businesses, and also from the other side, from businesses to customers?
I mean, that's actually quite easy to answer in one sentence. The customer doesn't care actually what channel it is. He wants to choose the channel that is right for him at the moment, and he wants to be able to switch it when he wants to switch it. And the company needs to kind of provide an experience, seamless experience over all channels. And I think that should become the very, very standard. And there's no discussion about that, if you ask me.
I fully agree with you, but Jürg, does it mean that the customer needs to offer, or sorry, the companies need to offer to the customer 10, 15, 20 channels in future? Because if we start speaking about voice, WhatsApp, chat, web, app, what's your view on that?
Yeah, maybe not 10 or 15, but I think it's important to offer the right channels, the channels customer wants. We should make it easy for our customers to communicate with us. And what every customer hates, and I think that's the situation for all of us, if someone is trying to push me to a different channel. If I'm calling you, please don't try me to push me to your online offering. Or if I want to chat with you, please don't try to push me into an other channel. I think this is important, that every company can offer the channels which their customers expect. And this is my different from company to company, as their customers are different, and it might also change over time. But offering the channels which customers expect is important, and don't push them or try to push them into a different channel.
Thank you, Jürg. And now we have also Beate with us. We started discussing about voice, the different channels, the different needs of the customer, and therefore it's also important to have somebody from the executive side. Before we start and involve you in the discussion, I would like if you could introduce yourself shortly, that then the audience understand who you are and where are you coming from.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Gregory, and I'm sorry that I'm too late, but I had some problems now. I'm with I took my iPhone, so it's a little bit difficult, but it will work, I think. So my name is Beate Hofferbert-Junge. I have been working about more than 11 years by now with Baloise Insurance in Switzerland, and since 4 years by now, I'm responsible for the customer service, non-life, that means for motor vehicles, for buildings, for household insurance, and so on, for private customers there. And I like this job very much because I'm very keen to work near the customer, to the customer, to feel his experience, to bring it to another level. So I heard a little bit about your discussion about the Omni-Channel. I don't believe we have to offer the customer a lot of channels, let's say 10 or more. That's confusing also for the customer. What the customer expects from us is the first thing is that he has a value from the channel, and sometimes we have to show him that it is perhaps a little bit better to take another channel, because then he gets a better service or the service earlier or faster. And if we're honest, we forced our customers since more than a decade to choose the telephone to call us. That's not originally in his sense, to take the telephone and to call us. And there are surveys on that. And so I think it's also a question, what will be the right channel for the customer in the future, where it is easy for him to get in contact with us and to have a value add there.
I think you are really pointing out an extremely important topic, which channels we would like to use. And I think we all agree that differentiation with the products, it's impossible. With the price, it's even worse, because we know where the prices are going in businesses, and therefore it's about creating experiences for our customer. And based on what you said, two topics come to my mind, and in order to share, to structure the discussion, let's start with Dominic. Dominic, what's your view on creating experiences for the customers?
Okay, this is a very broad question.
No, yes, but we are discussing about voice and omni-channel. What's your view, your way of thinking as a consultant in creating these experiences over the different channels for the customer? To phrase it in a bit clearer sense.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm heading in the right direction. Then just stop me if I start talking stuff that don't matter. But I think what's very important is if you create something for someone, that you involve him. And I think this is very important for conversations as well, or especially for conversations, because it's hard to imagine how a conversation is going to be. So if you design it artificially and you use synthetic data, it usually doesn't come as good as if you involve real data and real customers to design those experiences. And I think that counts for a lot of stuff, but especially for conversations.
This is exactly the point that I wanted to hear from you, and it was not pre-discussed. And based on that, exactly what you were saying, we need to involve our customer, because we trained our customer in the insurance industry, but also in financial services, and in also a lot of other industry. We train them to call us. And therefore, the first thing that the customer are doing in different businesses, I pick the phone because that's the easiest way and it's what I always did. And Jürg, what's your view? Is it possible to retrain the autopilot of the customer picking the phone? Or do you say, no, we stay on the phone and we need to create the experiences there for the customers?
Yeah, I don't care too much about the channel. I think what is important for me as a customer, if I'm calling you or if I'm writing you or if I'm texting you, what I want is a good and reliable answer fast. That's what I'm expecting. And then this is the first thing on experience, that the other side understand me. I get the right answer. I get it reliable. I get it secure. This is important. And then of course it's possible to do lots of fancy things on top. But never forget, get a fast and reliable and correct answer to your customer on the channel he's selecting. I think this is creating a good experience. And if an automated machine is able to give you the right answer fast and reliable, why not the machine? If you want to have a detailed conversation on a specific topic, or if it's about emotion, then of course there is nothing better than the human being. I think this is also to differentiate what the customer wants and what the topic is.
I think you answered that mostly from a consumer point of view, from a customer point of view. And what's your view from the other side, as from a speech view?
That's exactly the same. We have built lots of speech solutions in the past, and some of these solutions are offering additional value to the customer. Then the customer likes it and he adopts it and is using it. If the only aim of the solution is to reducing the workload of the company, and if I don't offer any additional benefits for the customer, he doesn't like that. If I'm offering to your customer, you can get a super fast answer by a human being, very reliable without many connections, or you can talk with the bot, which is doing the same. Everyone would take the human being, or let's say 90 people would take the human being, and only the total introverts would take the machines. But if the machine can offer additional services like 7x24, additional languages, getting connected to the right information faster, if we can add additional benefits for the customer, then the customer is going to accept it. And this is important for the company. Don't try to just reduce your workload. Try to offer your customers additional benefits, and they will like it, and they will use it, and they will adopt to it.
At the end, I think what you're saying is we want to create, or you want to create, virtual assistants. And on the market, there are quite a lot of solutions that offer virtual assistants, conversational design. Dominic, you are a consultant, therefore you are seeing also quite a lot of different solutions. If really somebody wants to start creating a virtual assistant, what are the first steps that a company should perform in order really to create something that can be developed further?
Yeah, good question. I think at the very beginning, it should somehow fit into their overall strategy. So they kind of need to draw a vision on why they are planning to implement such a technology, not just for the sake of implementing this technology. This happens a lot, actually. So if there is a strong vision and a strong purpose on why they want to implement that, that's a good beginning to start with. So somehow connect it to your company strategy, and then draw a vision, and then start with the use cases that you want to build. And I think if you start in that order, it's a good piece is done already.
Thank you, Dominic. And Beate, from you can answer directly what Dominic is saying, or to also start kicking off the discussion. It's what Dominic is saying about the use case. To broaden a bit the question is, Do you want to reply to Dominic?
Yeah, perhaps first, Dominic. I don't agree totally, because if I'm thinking about how did we start? Since nearly 1 year we are working with a voice assistant now, and I didn't had a big strategy.
Yeah, I mean,
where I started is I have a customer, and this customer, we have a lot of cases where he is forwarded a lot of times, where he is waiting a long time because I haven't got enough resources because of the situation of the market at the moment with the virus. We all have changes at the moment in this year because of the lockdowns. And yeah, we asked ourselves, what can we do? What can we do to serve our customers better? So we started on thinking about that. And then we said, okay, let's try it. Let's give it a try to implement a voice assistant. What will be the reaction of the customer? And we would like to learn from that. And we would like to get more experience, more to know what the customer really wants. Because until that time, we had an IVR, the interactive voice response system, that's saying click 1 for, click 2 for, click 3 for. And I said, that's not customer-like. Because if we are talking about, please click 4 to have somebody from the claims department, you already forgot what was 1 to click.
That's true.
So that's not customer-oriented. So that's where we started. Very easy. No strategy behind it. Just to start.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Maybe I expressed myself a bit wrong. I don't say that you have to define a strategy for month and month and focus a lot on that. But I think it's very important to know what you want to do with this technology, and of course learn fast, deploy fast, and all that. Very, very, very good strategy to start with a technology like that. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and now we are discussing what about the future of the IVR? Can we stop the IVR at the time and implement for all our services the voice assistant?
Very interesting project.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think it's really interesting, and we can learn also from the US, because they are further than us with these voice technologies. I know, Dominic, you were in the last weeks in the USA discussing with your companies. I'm not sure if you're allowed to share the names, therefore I'm not going to share the name. What are the learnings, and where are they with these virtual assistants?
Oh yes, yeah. Well, yeah. That was quite interesting, actually. They are, of course, as we can expect, on a whole different level than we are in Switzerland or Europe at the moment. So maybe one thing that is a big game there at the moment is that whole thing about the metaverse that we maybe know from discussions with from Mark Zuckerberg. He's discussing a lot about that. And virtual assistants or conversational technology plays a big role there. Because you kind of imagine the internet in a different way there. So you enter a virtual reality world to explore the World Wide Web, and you find yourself in a virtual reality, and you talk to people, you talk to brands, and you interact with brands and interact with people in that reality. And conversational interfaces play a big role there. So that was quite interesting to discuss aspects of projects where they're playing around with conversational technology in the virtual reality. So that was very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you, Dominic. And Jürg, from your point of view, we are speaking about conversational design. It's voice, but it can be also other channels. Where do you see the biggest issues that companies have or struggle with implementing such projects?
I think one of the big issues is what we are doing is innovation. It has been differently in the past, and we are doing something new. We are offering a new channel. It can be voice or text or whatever. And if you want to change something in a big company, you always have these people who say, "Okay, we have done it this way the last 20 years. I don't want to change." And these people, they know everything what can go wrong, and these are the people which are hindering innovation. They don't like changes, and what we are doing, what we are offering is change. It's innovation, and to do innovation you need to change something, and you need to change something which not 100 people have done before you. Otherwise it would not be in innovation. And I think to convince this not people which don't want to change, I think this is difficult in big companies, and they are always waiting behind the corner. And if a big project, if something goes wrong, they are coming up out of the holes and that, I said it from the beginning, this will not work. And I think this is, I think, the biggest obstacle which we are seeing. People which don't like innovation and which don't like risk, and innovation is always a little risk. And to avoid that, I think what is a good possibility is to start small. Don't try to change everything overnight. Don't try to do voice biometry, voice bots, automate everything overnight. Start with something small. Convince the people which are hesitant it's working, it's going, and then go for the next step. That is our experience out of the last 5 years, trying to bring innovations with voice to big companies.
You are really touching an important topic around change management and innovation, and we have the perfect lady with us from the executive board. How did you convince your colleagues in the executive suite to start such an innovative journey?
Yeah, before asking that question, I would come back to Jürg. We are talking about the culture of the company there. And I was very happy that we have the culture that we are able to make our own experience. I didn't ask the executive board. I had people, peers, colleagues of mine that were saying, no, I don't believe in that. I already spoke to some people who had some voice assistant that doesn't work. And I said, yes, I believe that will work. And if we're starting small, we will just make our experience and then see and go step by step further. And that was my strategy. I spoke to my boss, who's a member of the board, and he said, yes, we have to do that. We have to make our own experience. Please do it. So that was all.
It's
I convinced some colleagues, and yeah, we went for it.
It sounds very easy, but I think it was also quite difficult or quite challenging to get also all the legal compliance approvals that were required to start.
Yeah, but if you have a culture where experience is key, to make your own experience, to learn from failure and to make it better, to have a culture that wants to have innovation for learning, and then it makes it a little bit easier. Yeah. Yes, we had to ask. We don't want voice assistants on premise. We want it in the cloud. What cloud? What cloud? What does that mean for the data? Yes, you had the discussion, but 1 or 2 months and then it's gone. It's okay.
That's very nice. I think we should write an article about that, if it would be so simple as you are saying, but at the end it requires a strong leadership and basically also people that already did that or know that. And Dominic, you are an expert, you are a consultant in this topic. How when you're structuring such a project, how are you helping your customer, at the end these businesses, to create a story behind that to get all the required approvals in order to go to test and learn, but then also to deploy in production?
Yeah, good question. I think there's a combination of two approaches. As we heard before, it's very important to make small steps and not to hesitate too long, as we heard before. But then it's also important that we have a business case that we can show to the management, show to the people, a business case and a vision. What I experienced when we developed VoiceBots is that on the journey, when you pull up the use cases and you deploy them, the KPIs that you use to measure the success of the VoiceBot or other conversational systems, they're sometimes a bit, let's say, they cannot be satisfying at the beginning, at the very first beginning. So you kind of need your vision as well for that project to sell to people, not only KPIs, but also your vision and your business case. And I think if you have that, you have a good combination. Progress fast, make small steps, celebrate success, but also have a vision to sell. And that's what I meant at the beginning with the strategy. So you kind of need a vision to keep selling it in the company, to make marketing.
It totally
I agree.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, I agree then. That's correct.
Yes, we agree.
That's good. And from the technological provider point of view, Jürg, how do you plan such engagement? Because I know that several, let's say, to really start implementing it, often it takes quite a lot of time.
Yeah. Sometimes we meet customers, they have a clear plan, a clear expectation, and then we are trying to fulfill them. Or if we believe that it's going in a wrong or in a difficult direction, we try to convince them to go a little bit of different directions. But what happens very often, that we are coming to a potential customer and they are saying, we are totally open. We would like to go and do something with voice, but we don't have a clear plan and a clear strategy. And what we then normally try to do is, let's do a workshop. Get different people from different departments in the room, and then get the potential use cases on a whiteboard. And in this discussion, normally within an hour, you have 5 to 10 different use cases for voice on the whiteboard, and then we are going to say, okay, now let's filter out of these 5 or 10 use cases, which brings most business value to you, and which are the easiest to implement and to build. And there will be some use cases which are bringing a super value to the company, but they are difficult to implement, they are difficult to integrate, and there are some use cases which are super easy to build, but bring only little value. But most of the time, in the end, you have 1 or 2 use cases which are bringing real business value to the company and are not so difficult to implement, and then that's the right starting point. Something where you can prove the value to your customers, prove the value to your organizations without spending too much money, without taking too much of your organization. This is normally the best way to do it if you don't have an already agreed plan. And what is a big benefit of that approach? If you have multiple people in the room, this discussion is like soccer. Everyone can have his opinion. No opinion is wrong, and everyone was involved in the discussion right from the beginning. And it helps to get something done in a company if you have multiple people from multiple departments which believe this is a good thing to do, and it's worthwhile the investment.
Thank you, Jürg, and it makes totally sense. And also thank you for the example about soccer that I really liked and enjoyed. What you're saying, it totally makes sense. I would like for the last 10 minutes that we do some jumps. The first jump I would like to do is, now we discussed quite a lot around voice and automated some cases. We can fully automated cases. We can deflect cases to other channels. But at the end, as Dominic said at the beginning, the customer wants to be serviced, and as you also said, wants to be serviced over different channels. And therefore, we need, from my point of view, also from an architecture point of view, or start already with this vision that Dominic mentioned, that we need to service our customer also through other channels. And there is this omni-channel approach. Quite a lot of companies are saying omni-channel, but deploy once. There are quite a lot of buzzwords around that. I would like to create, or at least to get some insight from you. Let's start again with the consultant, Dominic. From your point of view, why is important to have an omni-channel approach, and which are the advantages if we start thinking about omni-channel approach from the beginning?
I mean, I can answer that.
Super easy question, I know.
Yeah, I think I can answer that in a very easy way. I mean, as I mentioned before, the customer doesn't really care what channels you offer, because or what channels he's in, because he has his situation where he is at the moment. When he's in a car, for example, he's probably better served when he can just talk to a brand. If he's on his computer, he likes to use the computer. And I think as a company, we should try to make it as convenient as possible for the customer. And you don't need to offer like 100 different channels, but you have to know your customer, where he's interacting with you, and then try to make it as easy as possible for him. And it's not about the quantity of the channels, but more of the quality.
Thank you, Dominic. And also from you, Beate, you said you started implementing that. You want to get rid of the IVRs, that's always over the phone. What are your view, if you can share that, in future with other channels are you going to integrate in this solution?
Yeah, we're going, as I already said, step by step, and we are not the first one to use, for example, chat technology, because we wanted first to make some experience to know if that's really the right one to offer for the customer. But we already have, the customer can call us, he can call his consultant of the field service, and there are different ways to contact us. But important for the omni-channel is that you know about all the contacts the customer had. It's not important with each channel, but you have to know what he did within the channel. If he called yesterday a consultant of our company and is calling today the customer service, we have to know what he did yesterday or what they were talking about. Or if he did something on the internet, he did something with the self-service, we have to know that. We have to be aware of that. That's something that the customer also expects us to know. Where are his interactions with us?
I think we are exactly going in this direction, that companies need to know what the customer did, and customer expect that companies knows who they are, what they did, and also what they want in future. We're not going to speak about personalization, but from your point of view, Jürg, this omni-channel approach, what's your view on that, your personal view on that, and what's the view of Spitch? Because at the end, I fully agree with Dominic and Beate, what they said. I am a customer and I want to be serviced in the same manner without thinking about if I use the phone, I get better service because they have a better technology in place, but the chat, it's only in MVP and therefore I can ask only 5 questions and the others not. What's your personal view and what's Spitch view on that?
Yeah, correct. We are a small company, and I hope my view is the same as our company's view. On omni-channel, I think we have to see it from 2 different sides. We have to see it from the company side, and we have to see it from the customer side. From the company side, I think it makes it easier. You can use the same data, you can use the same model, you can use the same processes, you can use the same APIs for the same process in different channels. This makes it easier and faster for the company to adapt to different channels when the APIs are already there, the data is already there, and this gets this flexibility to adapt to new needs. And we have seen so many different channels, and we will see new channels in the future. And to have this unified platform make the company much more agile to react on new things. These are the benefits on the company side. On the customer side, we mentioned it a few times. Customer might have a preference on a certain channel, and I make you an example. Maybe a customer is chatting with the company, and then he's coming to a point where he doesn't want to chat anymore. He needs a human person, and this chat conversation should go seamless into a conversation with a real person. The agent helps him on his complicated task, helps to serve him, and then he's might coming to a point where the agent tell him, I now need 10 answers for you to fill in. And this is a point where the agent could hand over the communication to a voice bot who only would take the answers to these 10 questions and would free up the agent again. And then we have touched 3 different channels. We have started with chat. We spoke with voice. We have spoken with the voice bot, and it was a seamless conversation for the customer, which was adapting to his needs. But very important, that's what Beate said, we need to be able to have the data of all 3 channels and get them together to one transaction. I'm still your customer, even if I'm communicating with you over the different channel, and I expect you from a company that you know what I've already talked with you. I expect that you know what I have chatted with you. I expect that you know what I've entered online, and I expect that you know that I've sent you an SMS. And to bring this thing together, this is the real omni-channel experience, which makes sense also from a customer point of view.
Thank you, Jürg, and being extremely respectful of your time, we are coming to the last 5 minutes. And I would like to ask every one of you the last question. And this is a bigger jump. We did one small jump speaking about Omni-Channel, and the bigger jump, it's about we close our eyes for 2 seconds. We are in 2030, it means in 10 years. And now the big question is, we meet in this discussion, what we are discussing about. And I would say ladies first.
That's not fair. In about 10 years by now. Yeah.
If you want to have some thinking time, I will hand over to Dominic.
Yeah. Perhaps to the consultant first.
Well,
consultant has already an answer for everything.
No, that I don't have. I don't see the future though. But I would say, as I mentioned before, the projects that I saw when I was in the US the last couple of weeks is probably where we're heading to, I guess. So I think when we're coming in 20 years back to a discussion like that, we're probably not talking about different channels and stuff, but we're probably talking about virtual and augmented reality, where we interact with brands and people in other ways than we do now. So that would be a very interesting future for me, to see it augmented in our actual surrounding where we actually physically live in, but also virtually, where we can dive into a total different world and interact with brands and people in another way. So I think we're gonna have our discussion there, hopefully.
Very nice, thank you very much. And Jürg, 2030. I know Spitch is then a unicorn, but what we are discussing about?
Yeah, I will try to do it as a pantomime. As I said before, the keyboard is going away. This will be history in 10 years. We will only use it for exotic things. This will go away, and that's what I wanted to show. That's my vision for the future. If I want something, I talk and I don't use this stupid keyboard here anymore.
Thank you, Jürg. And now the perfect closing with Beate.
As we are in our industry, we are a little bit more conservative, huh? In the insurance or financial industry, and especially in Switzerland, I think. So let's be honest. In about 10 years from now, I think I'm with Jürg to say no keyboard no longer, but perhaps we have more voice, but also some kind of thing where somebody can write something or can send us more intuitive, in a more intuitive way, his wish for a service, for a better service. And the best thing would be that we bring the service to our customer without that the customer doesn't recognize which channel he has to play. It has to be the best service for him in the best way.
Thank you very much, Beate. And we are coming to a closure. And really, thank you very much also for the great answer, because I asked this question already one person, and the answer was, in 10 years, I am on the Maldives with one drink and not speaking with you about voice. And therefore, exactly, thank you very much. Cheers. And in particular, thank you very much, Beate, Dominic, and Jürg, for your time. We faced some technical issues, but I think we had a great discussion. And also to the audience, sorry that we were not able to fill the complete hour and we are not live on LinkedIn. However, we will share the link of this presentation and some show notes. Thank you very much. It was great to have you on. Bye bye. Grazie mille. Arrivederci.